Welcome to Inside the VAFA. This is a podcast that takes a look inside the four walls of VAFA HQ. And on this edition, we are chatting with Darren Flanigan, the VAFA Community and Club Support Manager. This weekend in the competition, we are recognising the real stakes. And Darren, he's about to join us to tell us all about it. Well, Paddy, it's a very big weekend for our competition, the Amos. We're partnering alongside the Adelaide Footy League and the Perth Footy League with the Real Stakes, a community footy program created by the footy community to raise awareness of the real harm caused by online sports gambling. And we know that online sports gambling is a growing risk to all Australians, especially young people involved in sport, and participation in gambling has more than doubled since 2010, which is a staggering number of people. And Darren Flanigan, of course, a great Geelong person, a great man of the Amos. He has been good enough to jump on and join us. He's the VAFA Community and Club Sports Manager ahead of the Real Stakes round. Hello, Darren.
Hello, Paddy. Hello, Joey.
Thanks for jumping on and spending some time with us. I want to ask you about the Real Stakes round. It's a collaboration between three leagues, ours, the Adelaide Football League, and the Perth Football League. How did all this come to fruition?
It was through before my time. I've only been in the role for 3 or 4 months. The three leagues got together, the CEOs, and looked at ways that they could collaborate on a number of social issues. And this is one that had fairly high prominence. So, they've designed some externals to produce a program that we can then deliver to our to raise awareness about the issues around sports gambling.
So why now then for tackling gambling harm, Darren? What's so special about this current moment that we're in?
Well, like you said, the increase is enormous. The two presentations that we've had, one to the captains and coaches and the other one to the clubs on the club development day, really sort of opened your eyes as to the tricks that the gambling companies are using now to trap, for want of a better word, young men, young women, into probably gambling outside their means. And I just think it's not a great space for to get into, and with modern mental health issues and depression and anxiety and that sort of stuff, that financial issues are piled on top of that because of a gambling problem. It's going to be a doubling effect. I just have to listen to the SEN podcast on the weekend with Daniel Ward, the issues that he went through, that it's not a new problem, but it's certainly it's rearing its ugly head because of the prevalence and the fact that you can bet on your phone at any time, and the amount of ads that are being pushed through the sports media promoting gambling as being normal. That normalisation doesn't sit well with me.
And we've seen that there's some ambassadors, some prominent AFL and AFLW faces that are involved in this campaign, Jacob Wiedering and Monique Conti. What's their involvement?
Well, we've sort of sourced around the industry to find people that were equally passionate about this issue, and very, very fortunate to get two high-profile people to put their name to the program that we're running. They've done some social media stuff for us that'll be appearing over the next week or so. They're going to do club visits, get out to games this weekend just to be a presence, and hopefully that we can then get a bit more messaging into the community about how important this issue is.
And it is a serious issue. I've actually talked about this before in a jovial sense. When I go to watch the AFL, and I'm a mad Collingwood fan, as most people will know, I'll sit obviously in a seat around Collingwood fans, and in a jovial sense, there'll be a Collingwood fan next to me who'll be barracking for the opposition because they've got so-and-so in their Supercoach team, or they've got so-and-so in their fantasy team, but also they got so-and-so in some 15-leg multi, and they absolutely crack the you-know-whats if whoever it is doesn't get 20 disposals and their multi doesn't get up, to the point where, as we've seen in recent times, they'll get on the social media, Darren, and they'll message the player directly as if they've got any right to do so, which I think is absolutely disgraceful. So I love the program that is being rolled out. Some of the practical tools that will be offered to clubs, what are they that, even if you can give us just a little sneak peek of what clubs and people can expect?
Well, basically, this is an awareness program. So, the first year of it, you sort of raise awareness within your clubs. We're certainly hoping that it extends out this year. And the second iteration would be to do individual club workshops with players. The main one is about the tricks that the gambling companies are using. Bet with mates, and we've all seen that over the last couple of years. Instead of, I'm happy to have a $5 bet. One of my mates might be a $50 punter, but the pressure comes on that I should match his because we're in this bet with mates collaboration, which, basically takes me well outside my comfort zone with my gambling. So just those sort of tricks where the gambling companies are just preying on this idea. If you bet with mates, you have more fun. Some people can afford it, some people can control it, others that can't, and we make sure that we look after the ones that are struggling. And it all goes down to the mental health thing, the player assistance program that we've got running, that we can put our arms around these kids and make sure that they don't get themselves in a lot of pain.
You mentioned kids there. A lot of the language does get accessed by children who are brought up knowing about odds and multis and all that kind of language, which is a real danger. Because young people are growing up around football in this environment, what's a piece of advice or some sort of lesson that you're hoping to pass on to a younger player that might be coming through the ranks and doing this program?
It's the normalisation of it all. Like you can't go to the footy without having a bet. It's just insane. And one of the messages we're saying is let's get it back to enjoying the footy with your mates, having a kick and enjoying the game, as opposed to being obsessed with a multi or having a bet on the contest. And I think that's probably the biggest thing. Let's just not make it normal to have a bet on footy every time you're watching a game, and which is what's being pushed at the moment.
And how do you think a footy club can influence that?
Well, there's a number of things. When you have a TV on in your club rooms, you don't have to have the races on every Saturday because that's just a supplement. It's just a message that there's, gambling's on, gambling's normal. You're sitting there with your phone. Oh, let's have a punt on number 6 in race 5 at Doomben. If it's not on the telly, probably the majority of people wouldn't be thinking about it. So, although racing is not in part of the real stakes program, it's that normalisation that gambling should be on everywhere, every time, which I think is the biggest message. If we can get our clubs to take that off the TV screen in the change rooms, that'd be a good start. The other one is to discourage, the combined multis that. Let's get together, bet with mates, have a big multi on something or other. Let's go to footy tipping contests, or let's go to fantasy footy where there's not money involved, and the pressure comes on to stump up and have a bet with your mates. It's the only way you can enjoy the game, which I think is a really cool message.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right, Darren. And if there is a club or a person out there, a player or a coach that thinks, well, this isn't my club, you're better off doing it just for the sake of it, because obviously if you think your club is in the right, well, that's fantastic, but you don't know every single player that's on your list and every single coach that's involved. And if you can start it from the under-19 program as an example and filter it all the way through to your seniors, and your seniors are the players and coaches leading the way, then it usually has the ripple effect that we're looking for. Realstakes.com.au. There is a community webinar on May 7. You can go to that website to register. Now, before we let you go, Darren, a couple of other questions that are
so just on that, there are a number of webinars coming up over the next 2 or 3 weeks that clubs or individuals can log into. And, if you have an interest in this subject, and hopefully all our clubs do, that they jump on board and just get a bit of awareness around the club about what some of the tricks are, and then hopefully, we can sort of cut it off at the pass.
Before we let you go, Darren, 138 games of Australian rules football with the Cats and St Kilda. Winning 69, losing 69. Just a 50% record for yourself during the 80s. Tell us about your time playing for the Cats.
Different game then than what it is now. We all had jobs after work. We trained after work, and it was a pretty brutal sort of a game in those days. The big long run-ups with the ruckman. If you look at any ruckman from the 80s, they hobble like I do, because we ran at each other from 20 metres away and try to kick the living bejesus out of each other. But we had a lot of fun. It was serious, but it was still a bit social. And there was no social media pressure. You all played at 2 o'clock on a Saturday afternoon, or occasionally a game in Sydney on a Sunday, and then they eventually brought in the Friday night footy. So, it was all 2 o'clock Saturday afternoon. It was all, it was a lot of fun. You could play your game, shake hands with the oppo, go to the aftermatch, just go out and have a couple of beers and not have people climbing all over you, not having stuff plastered on social media. I'm not sure how I'd handle that now. But yes, the way the game was played in those days was a lot of fun. I had some great mates. I learned a lot from some great coaches, some great life experiences. So to come down from the bush as a 17-year-old and get put into a place like the Geelong Footy Club and spend the next 12 years there was just a lifelong experience that you can't buy, and you look back with great fondness.
The 1989 season, Darren, how does that one sit with you? In round 5, I'm assuming, went down with an injury. That was game 99. You had to wait 7 weeks for game 100, and then you stayed in the team and you played off in arguably the greatest grand final that's ever been played.
Yeah, I don't know whether I was injured or I got dropped. Probably got dropped.
Well, you finished the game against Fitzroy with one disposal.
Yeah, Berkey, I'll take an injury. Berkey was number 1 ruck and captain, so it was. Blighty wasn't a fan of playing 2 rucks at that stage, so I think I ended up spending a bit of time in the 2s and eventually worked my way back in the team and finished off the season in the seniors and played in that final series and watched Gary Ablett strutty stuff. It was a bit of fun.
And since you finished up playing, Darren, you've had a pretty handy football industry career, including recently, as far as the Emos is concerned, you acted as a mentor to Mark Natt, who's the most recent premiership coach.
I think Darren's a reason Old Scotch won the flag, because no one else has been able to do it for 46 years, Daz.
I'll take it. I'll take that. Yeah, no problem at all. Yeah, no, I was really lucky. I sort of finished in 92 and 94. I started working in the TSC Cup system as it was then, as development manager, talent manager. Lived in Hong Kong for a couple of years, did some work in southern China, came back, got involved and ran women's footy for a number of years, then back in the talent pathway, and now I'm back in community footy. So I've been absolutely blessed to have a career involved in footy for so long, and my age, you just sort of want to give back to the local clubs and see where you can help them. I was out at Preston Bull Ants last night, doing a leadership talk, leadership and legacy talk with them, and hopefully they got a bit out of it. But just the ability to go around to footy clubs and, hopefully they can enjoy the journey in their footy careers that I enjoyed in mine.
The Real Stakes, a community footy program created by the footy community to raise awareness of the real harm caused by online sports gambling, a collaboration between the Amos, the Adelaide Footy League and the Perth Footy League, realstakes.com.au. Darren, thanks for spending some time with us, shedding some light on this one, and we look forward to catching up as the season unfolds.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me, gentlemen.